So in this video, I'm just going to brush over the three most important things I think you need to implement ASAP in order to make long-lasting change. Okay. Now, I'm going to base this off someone who is wanting to get a better, more well-built physique. I'm not going to go strictly for the fat loss, but I'm going to go along the lines of someone who's maybe wanting to trim body fat and then build muscle. Okay. Now, number one, I'm going to assume that you already have some sort of training routine, whether that is wildly inconsistent and unintentional. You're turning up to the gym, you don't really know what you're doing in the gym, but you're still turning up. And your diet is similar, and your lifestyle outside of that in terms of professional life is relatively busy. Okay? So straight away, from a training perspective, you need a plan. And we all know we need a plan. We need structure. We need to have targets that we're trying to hit week in, week out. Okay? But within the gym, what's more important than anything for actually building muscle and building a physique is the intensity of your training. Now, if you're not pushing to a point where you are able to stimulate the adaptation of the muscle to grow in the first place, then everything else is pointless. All right? Okay, maybe not pointless. I mean, obviously, eating well and sleeping better is going to help your life anyway. But in terms of building your physique, yes, everything else is near enough pointless. Okay? If you're not lifting to the intensity that you need to be lifting in order to grow muscle, then yeah, you're not going to see the changes that you want to see. And that is simple. Now, within the gym, you want to make sure that you are lifting. Like, one of the biggest misconceptions I think in the fitness world is that variety is super essential. I think variety in terms of accessory movements is very beneficial, but variety within your compounds is not, right? If you want to get strong, squat more, deadlift more, bench more, row more. Try and get yourself to the point where you can do pull-ups. If you can't do pull-ups, do pull-downs, lat pull-downs, right? Tick off all your overhead presses. Again, huge one. Just all the key fundamental movements, right? Make sure you're getting strong in all of them and don't try to beat around the bush. Squatting is going to get your legs, your glutes, your quads, even your core strong. It's going to get your body working in synchronicity, right? Same with deadlift. That's why those two exercises are two of the kings of exercises, right? Because they make the body work as one. So start by getting strong in your compounds. Now, before actually diving headfirst into the egotistical side of lifting, which is getting strong, you need to nail the fundamentals. You need to make sure that you are lifting with a good quality form, or you're going to run into little injuries, little niggles that could potentially turn serious. But there we go. Training, two things. Lifting intensity and not avoiding the fundamental movements. If you can get strong in your fundamental movements, you will build muscle. You will have a stronger, more well-built physique. And you will feel more athletic. You will feel more well-developed. Okay? Now when we come into nutrition. Nutrition is the most controversial subject within the fitness space just now. There is advice. You could find someone trying to tell you the right answer for almost everything. And nobody really knows where to look for correct answers anymore. And my recent conclusion is the more you stress about what you eat, the more it's actually going to damage you than actually eating it itself, right? So if you worry and stress that what you're eating is killing you, right, that's actually going to do more damage than just eating the food in the first place. So comes back to the fundamentals. When we remove that stress factor, that worry of foods being like killing us, okay? Because that's just seems like that's what everybody preaches online just now. Because everyone, you need to remember, even myself, right? We're all trying to sell you something, and that is no bullshit. Everyone is trying to sell you something. So how do you get people to buy? You pull a few trigger points. You pull a few emotional trigger points that are going to make them go, oh, I need that. And then that's where you have all this scaremongering, scare factor stuff. And that is the biggest in nutrition just now. So when you strip nutrition back, right, you have your proteins, your carbs, your fats, in terms of your macros, and then you go into the micronutrients, which are much more for like a performance perspective, where we're like actually trying to function and operate better as humans, right? But for the simplicity, we'll stick to carbs, fats, and proteins. Now, your protein, pretty simple. How much do you weigh? Let's say 80 kilos. You're going to double that. There's your minimum protein consumption a day, right? Your carbs are your fuel. Simple, right? You need carbs to be able to perform. And I mean that's not technically true. You can adapt your body to run off fats, but that takes a hell of a lot. It takes quite a long time, and it sort of fries your nervous system in the process. I went for a long period of consuming very minimal carbs, and I was always knackered, but always wired at the same time. My nervous system was just always a bit fried, because what carbs do, and what you'll have experienced, is when you eat a big load of carbs, say middle of the day, right, you'll hit this crash. You'll go, energy will go plop, and then you'll dive. You'll take a swanton bomb into the ground. You'll feel like you need to go for a nap or whatever, or load up on 3 coffees. When you have that carb consumption later on in the evening, what it actually does is send your nervous system into rest and digest. So carbs are very good at helping you get into a state of rest and recover, which is very, very important. And I think that's something that is very misunderstood about carbohydrates, right? Everybody wants to try and avoid them. They think they're the enemy, they're evil, but they're not. They're quite literally fuel. A car can't run without petrol or a diesel if it's a diesel engine. It needs its fuel, and carbs are fuel for the body. And then when you pair that with high quality proteins, so you're recovering well, because if you're consuming high quality proteins and you got plenty of carbs in the system, then the carbohydrates are going to help fuel the body to recover with high quality proteins, alongside performance, alongside day-to-day life, working, all these things and more. And then fats, right? Fats and proteins both actually help. Fats are also quite not crucial, but they help recover the body, repair the body, but also play a massive factor in your hormonal balance, hormonal regulation. All right, so your mood, how you feel day to day, energy levels. If you're eating good quality fats, then your mood's going to be better day to day. And if you get all those bits of the puzzle right, so you're eating good quality fats, you're eating good quality carbs, and you're eating good quality proteins, then the micronutrients sort of take care of themselves. And that's when you're thinking clearer, you have less brain fog, you're feeling better day to day. You don't get bloated and feel minging after a meal. So yeah, that's training, nutrition covered. Now, last but not least, might not be expecting this one, but is stress regulation, okay? Now, you might be wondering, why am I not putting rest and recovery in there, but they are all interlinked, right? If you fuel properly, you train properly, and you get your stress, your cortisol regulation on point, then your rest and recovery will just take care of itself. Now, when your body is overridden with cortisol, that's another thing you can have, where you're almost in that like tired but wired state, where you're shattered, your body's battered, your brain's battered from work, but you're just not able to chill out. You're spinning too many plates. You're stressed from the minute you wake up in the morning to the minute you go to bed. I had a client back end of last year who was running a business, and he was trying to get out the business, right? And it was a recycling company. So I think from day dot, from the minute he woke up, he was bombarded with problems from lorry drivers that he had working for him. And you're talking like 4 or 5 in the morning, this guy would be waking up to calls. So from the minute he picks up that first phone, and I think he would wake up like 3 or 4 times between the hours, probably even more than that, of 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the morning, and check his phone, worrying that someone's like messaging him, or even end up on the phone to someone. How is that a way to start your day? Like within that 3 to 4 hours where you're supposed to be regulated and like setting yourself up for a successful day, you're like overriding your system with cortisol, which then impacts every other aspect of your life. Now, this guy really struggled to lose weight because of that exact reason. Your body does not, it pretty much will significantly impact your ability to lose weight if you're in a high cortisol state all the time. And I always relate this back. If you look back to however many thousand years ago, when you were hunter-gatherers or food was much less accessible, when you hadn't eaten for 3 or 4 days, that is when you would be in your highest stress state, right? So your body, your brain, everything would be holding on to every ounce of weight that it had to make sure that it wasn't going to die. And that was the result of cortisol. That's what cortisol did. It's very clever, right? But we have the complete opposite problem just now. If only we could reverse that. Whenever you're in a high stress state, you almost lose weight. And we'd be in a much happier place, right? Or a much less obese place. But going back to what I was saying, if you learn to regulate your system in that way, then it makes fat loss, makes training, it makes working alongside all that so much easier. So when you combine all those 3 things, then all the pieces of the puzzle almost get put together. Your training's your getaway. Your training is your place to exert a lot of your energy, push yourself, feel like you're achieving physically. Your nutrition is a place for you to get the correct fueling in, repair, recover, feel good, so you can perform better in the gym, perform better at work, and feel better in your day-to-day life. And also then control your cortisol, your hormonal balance, so you're actually feeling much better in your mood as well. And then on the back end of that, if you implement habits into your day-to-day life, couple off the top of the head, no screen time for the first hour to 90 minutes of the morning, minimum. A walk within the first 90 minutes of waking up should probably be a non-negotiable, okay? For many reasons other than just setting your circadian rhythm. Also significantly reduces cortisol, and is unbelievable for just headspace, clearing your head, no phone, no distraction, just go and walk and let the mind wander, okay? So there are a couple for the morning, and then in the evening, no screens within an hour before bed. Listen to some chill music, keep the light sensitivity low, blue light blockers on, that's what I do. And just chill out. Focus on just chilling out. No work, no nothing, no social media, no bullshit. Just chill. By the time you get to bed, you're just going to pass out, conk out. But you got to get all those things right before, right? And it's not something that you can just take and implement straight away. It's something you've got to build over a bit of time, right? You've got to implement the right habits. You've got to understand what works for you. You got to experiment, try and test, drop a habit, pick up a new one, fall off that habit even though you knew it was good for you, realise how much it was good for you, and then come back and pick it up again and rinse and repeat that cycle a few times, and then eventually it sticks. You got to go through the process, but trust me, once you start and you start to feel the benefits, that's when things really start to change, because you go from wondering, you go from questioning yourself, what is that going to be good? Is that going to be good? Should I do this? Should I do that? To, we're trying things now. We've got a bit of momentum. Momentum falls off, we pick it back up. rinse and repeat. Okay. So those are my 3 biggest levers I would pull if I was to, or for anybody who is wanting to just, I suppose, maximize their health and well-being across the board: training, nutrition, and stress management. And if you've got any questions, just drop me a wee message on IG. If you want, I can help walk you through all of these things, implementing habits on a weekly basis within my one-to-one coaching, or we have an accelerator, which is actually starting on Monday. So if you're quick enough, you might be able to get a slot. See you on the other side. Cheers, troops.